I had it all planned out. 3 years with Jessica and I was ready to take the next step. The ring cost me 4 months of savings, but seeing that diamond shine under the restaurant lights made it all worth it. At least that is what I thought until I got down on one knee. The moment I opened that small velvet box, her expression changed. Then came the laughter. Cold, dismissive laughter. "You thought I would marry you," she said loud enough for nearby tables to hear. I had no idea this humiliation was just the beginning. I was about to discover the ultimate betrayal waiting for me at home. Let me know where you are watching from, and hit that like and subscribe button before I tell you how I found out my girlfriend and best friend destroyed everything I had built. I met Jessica at a tech conference in San Francisco 3 years ago. At the time, I was a software engineer with promising ideas and a passion for creating apps that could make a difference. My coding skills had earned me recognition within certain tech circles, though I was far from famous. Jessica caught my eye immediately during a panel discussion on emerging technologies. She asked intelligent questions about data security that impressed even the speakers. Her long auburn hair framed a face that seemed to light up whenever technology was discussed. I found the courage to approach her during the networking session afterward. "Your questions about encryption were spot on," I said, offering her a coffee from the refreshment table. She smiled, accepting the coffee. "Thanks. I work in marketing, but I have always been fascinated by the development side." "You look familiar. Did you present anything I had not, but we fell into an easy conversation about my current projects?" Jessica seemed genuinely interested in my work, asking thoughtful questions about my approach to app development. By the end of the conference, we had exchanged numbers, and I felt a connection I had not experienced before. Our first date was at a small Italian restaurant near her apartment. I remember feeling nervous but excited as I waited for her to arrive. When she walked in wearing a simple blue dress, heads turned. I could hardly believe she had agreed to have dinner with me. "So tell me more about this revolutionary app idea you mentioned," she said after we ordered. I explained my concept for a secure communication platform with features that would set it apart from existing options. As I spoke, her eyes never left mine, and she asked follow-up questions that showed she was truly listening. That night marked the beginning of what I believed was a deep and genuine relationship. Over the next year, Jessica and I became inseparable. We shared similar tastes in music, enjoyed hiking on weekends, and could talk for hours about everything from technology to philosophy. When I suggested moving in together after our 1-year anniversary, she agreed without hesitation. That was when Marcus entered the picture more prominently. Marcus had been my best friend since our sophomore year in college. We had met in a computer science class where we were paired for a semester-long project. Our friendship had endured despite occasionally going months without seeing each other due to busy schedules. "Dude, I cannot believe you convinced a woman like Jessica to move in with you," Marcus joked as he helped us carry boxes into our new apartment. His tall frame and natural confidence had always made him popular with women, something he never let me forget. I asked myself the same thing every day. I replied, watching as Jessica directed the placement of furniture. "Well, you finally created something I cannot steal," he laughed, punching my shoulder playfully. If only I had recognized the warning in those words. The first year of living together was blissful. My career was progressing well, and I had begun work on what I believed would be my breakthrough project. It was an app that used a unique algorithm I had developed to enhance data security while improving user experience. The potential was enormous, and I often worked late into the night refining the code. Jessica showed increasing interest in my work, looking over my shoulder as I coded and asking detailed questions about the project timeline and potential market value. "This could be worth millions if you get it right," she said one evening, massaging my shoulders as I worked. "You should really consider seeking investors soon." "I want to perfect the core functionality first," I explained. "Once I have a working prototype, then I will look for funding." In retrospect, her impatience should have been a red flag, but I interpreted it as belief in my abilities. Around this time, Marcus began visiting our apartment more frequently. He had recently left his job at a struggling startup and was looking for new opportunities. Given his experience in development, I welcomed his input on my project. "Your security protocol is solid," he said after reviewing some of my code. "But have you considered adding a secondary encryption layer for enterprise users that could open up a whole new market?" His suggestion was excellent, and I incorporated it into my design. Soon Marcus was stopping by several times a week, often staying for dinner. Jessica always seemed happy to see him preparing his favorite meals and laughing at his jokes. I was pleased that my girlfriend and best friend got along so well. "Why do you not bring Marcus into the project officially?" Jessica suggested after he left one evening. "He has great ideas and you could use the help." "I have thought about it," I admitted. "But I want to maintain control of the intellectual property for now. Once I secure funding, I will definitely bring him on board." Looking back, the signs were there. The way Jessica would check her phone and smile when certain messages came through. How conversations would stop abruptly when I entered a room. Marcus suddenly buying a new car, despite being between jobs. But I trusted them both completely. They were the two people closest to me in the world. As my app development progressed, Jessica began dropping hints about marriage. She would pause at jewelry store windows, pointing out engagement rings she liked. She started talking about friends who were getting married, asking what I thought about their venues and arrangements. "Do you see us getting married someday?" she asked casually one night as we watched a movie featuring a wedding scene. "Absolutely," I answered without hesitation. "When the time is right." Her smile in response convinced me that proposing was the next logical step in our relationship. I began saving for a ring, cutting back on expenses and working even harder on my app, hoping it would soon provide the financial security I wanted to offer her. After 2 months of careful planning and saving, I purchased a platinum ring with a diamond larger than I could realistically afford. I made reservations at Corelli's, an upscale Italian restaurant that Jessica had mentioned wanting to try. Everything was set for what I thought would be one of the happiest nights of our lives. If only I had known it would actually be the beginning of the end. The night of the proposal arrived, and I was a bundle of nerves. I checked my pocket at least 20 times to make sure the ring was still there as we drove to Corelli's. Jessica looked stunning in a black dress I had never seen before, her hair styled elegantly, makeup perfect. In hindsight, she had put in extra effort that night, but not for the reason I imagined. "You seem tense," she commented, as we were seated at our table. "Rough day at work. Just excited about tonight," I replied, trying to calm my racing heart. "You look beautiful." The restaurant exuded romance with dim lighting candles on every table and soft classical music playing in the background. We ordered wine appetizers and main courses. Throughout the meal, I struggled to maintain normal conversation, my mind focused on the moment to come. After dessert, when I felt the timing was right, I took a deep breath and moved from my chair to one knee beside her. Several nearby diners noticed smiling in anticipation of witnessing a special moment. I pulled out the small velvet box and opened it, revealing the diamond ring that had cost me so much. "Jessica, these past 3 years have been the happiest of my life. I want to spend forever with you. Will you marry me?" The expression that crossed her face was not the joyful surprise I had expected. First came shock, then something else entirely. The corners of her mouth turned up, not in a smile of happiness but in amusement. And then she laughed. Not a nervous laugh or one of surprised delight. This was cold, almost cruel. "You thought I would marry you," she said, emphasizing the last word with obvious disdain. The restaurant seemed to go silent around us. I remained frozen on one knee, ring still extended, unable to process what was happening. "Harold, come on," she continued, lowering her voice slightly, but not enough to prevent nearby tables from hearing. "You are just not ambitious enough. Look at you still working on the same project after all this time with nothing to show for it." "I do not understand," I managed to say, finally standing up and closing the ring box. "I thought we were happy. I thought you loved me." Jessica sighed, reaching for her purse. You are sweet, but I need someone who can actually deliver on their promises, not just talk about potential. Someone who makes things happen." With that, she stood up, placed her napkin on the table, and said, "I will not be coming home tonight. Or any night. I have already packed my essential things. You can mail the rest." And then she walked out, leaving me standing there amid whispers and pitying glances from other diners. The waiter approached cautiously, asking if I would like the check. Numbly I paid, and left the ring box heavy in my pocket. The drive home was a blur. I kept replaying her words, trying to make sense of them. Not ambitious enough. Nothing to show for my work. It did not align with the support she had seemingly offered throughout our relationship. Entering our apartment, I was struck by the emptiness. Not physical emptiness, as her things were still there, but an emotional void that made the space feel foreign. I tried calling her phone, but it went straight to voicemail. I sent text messages that showed as delivered, but remained unread. Unable to sleep, I wandered through the apartment, noticing small changes. Some of her clothes were indeed missing from the closet. Her favorite perfume was gone from the bathroom counter. Her laptop, however, was still on the desk in our spare room that served as a home office. Looking for any clue to explain her behavior, I opened her laptop. To my surprise, it was unlocked. Jessica was usually careful about security, another interest she had claimed to share with me. The email application was open, and I saw a name that immediately caught my attention: Marcus. My hands trembled as I clicked on the conversation thread. The most recent email was sent just hours before our dinner. "Everything is set. Breaking it off tonight. He has no idea about us or the project. The investors are ready to move forward as soon as you give the word. Cannot wait to celebrate properly afterward. Monsieur." I scrolled through more emails, each one revealing another layer of betrayal. Jessica and Marcus had been seeing each other behind my back for at least 6 months, but the personal betrayal, painful as it was, paled in comparison to what I discovered next. Marcus had been systematically stealing my ideas, my code, my entire project. The security protocols, the user interface, designs, the core algorithm, all taken from my work and presented to investors as his own creation. The emails detailed their plan. Marcus would secure funding using my work while Jessica kept me distracted and provided him with regular updates on my progress. I felt physically ill as I discovered photos attached to some of the emails, intimate pictures of Jessica and Marcus together, some taken in my bed while I was working late. The timestamp on one photo was from just 3 days earlier. As if the universe wanted to ensure I had no doubt about their betrayal, my phone rang. It was Adam, a mutual friend who knew both Marcus and me from college. "Harold, man, I just heard." "I am so sorry," he said when I answered. "Heard what exactly?" I asked, my voice hollow. "About Jessica moving in with Marcus. They just made it Facebook official. I thought you should know before you saw it online." The final piece clicked into place. Not only had they betrayed me personally and professionally, but they were already publicly flaunting their relationship, completely unconcerned about my feelings. After thanking Adam for the call, I sat in the dark apartment surrounded by evidence of the most complete betrayal imaginable. The woman I loved, and the friend I trusted, had not only deceived me emotionally, but had stolen the work that represented years of my life. I learned the next day that Marcus had secured $2 million in funding from a venture capital firm. $2 million for my creation, my innovation. While I had been saving for an engagement ring, he had been preparing to profit from my work. That night, I experienced a breakdown, unlike anything I had ever felt before. I screamed, until my voice gave out through things, until I was exhausted and finally collapsed on the floor, surrounded by the wreckage of furniture and the even greater wreckage of my trust. The next 2 weeks were the darkest of my life. I called in sick to work, stopped answering my phone, and spent most days either sleeping or staring blankly at walls. The betrayal consumed me, replaying in my mind on an endless loop. Bottles of whiskey became my closest companions, numbing the pain temporarily but leaving me even more depressed when sobriety returned. One morning, after a particularly heavy night of drinking, I woke up on the bathroom floor. As I pulled myself up and caught a glimpse of my haggard reflection in the mirror, a moment of clarity cut through the fog of self-pity. The face staring back at me was unrecognizable. Eyes, bloodshot beard, unkempt, a shell of the person I had been. They win if you destroy yourself, I said aloud to my reflection. The sound of my voice, unused for days, except for occasional sobs, seemed to solidify something within me. I showered, shaved, and cleaned the apartment, throwing away the empty bottles and opening windows to clear the stale air. Then I sat down at my computer and began to think strategically for the first time since the betrayal. First, I documented everything. I gathered all my original work, including timestamps on file creations, commit histories from my private repository development logs, and even handwritten notes from the conceptual phase. I created backups of everything, storing copies in multiple secure locations. Next, I consulted with a lawyer who specialized in intellectual property. Lisa Jennings listened carefully to my story, reviewing the evidence I had collected. "You have a strong case for intellectual property theft," she confirmed. "But litigation can be lengthy and expensive, with no guarantee of success, especially if they have already secured funding and begun development." "What would you recommend?" I asked. "Document everything which you have already done, but also consider your ultimate goal. Is it revenge, recognition, or success?" Her question gave me pause. What did I really want? After consideration, I realized that while part of me wanted revenge, what I truly desired was vindication and success on my own terms. With renewed purpose, I began examining Marcus's implementation of my ideas. Through industry contacts, I learned that his development team was rushing to bring the product to market within 6 months, a timeline that would require cutting corners. My suspicion was confirmed when a former colleague who had been recruited by Marcus reached out confidentially. "They are skipping major security audits to meet the launch deadline," he told me. "The core infrastructure has vulnerabilities they are planning to patch post-launch." This information gave me an idea. Instead of pursuing immediate legal action, I would develop my original concept, properly addressing the vulnerabilities I knew would exist in Marcus's rushed version. I would create something superior in every way. I developed a comprehensive business plan that improved upon my original concept, incorporating additional features and stronger security protocols. With my documentation and clear evidence of prior work, I approached a different investment group known for their ethical standards and long-term vision. After 3 intense meetings and thorough due diligence on their part, they offered me $3 million in funding, $1 million more than Marcus had secured. They were impressed not only by my technical expertise, but by my integrity in presenting the situation honestly. "We value original thinkers," said Catherine Wilson, the lead investor, "and we appreciate your transparency about the competing product. Your approach to resolving the situation speaks volumes about how you will conduct business." With funding secured, I assembled a team of developers who shared my vision and ethical standards. We worked tirelessly, often 16 hours a day, to build something truly revolutionary. I was determined that my product would not just match what Marcus was creating with my stolen ideas, but surpass it in every measurable way. Throughout this period, I maintained strategic silence. I did not confront Jessica, or Marcus made no public accusations, filed no lawsuits. I let them believe they had won, that I had faded into obscurity, nursing my wounds while they marched toward success. 6 months passed in a blur of coding, testing, refining, and planning. My team delivered a product that exceeded even my original vision. The security was ironclad, the user experience intuitive, and we had added features that Marcus's team had not even considered. Then I learned something that seemed almost too perfect to be coincidence. Marcus was planning to launch his product at the same annual tech conference where I had met Jessica 3 years earlier. It was as if the universe was offering me the perfect stage for resolution. I immediately secured a booth at the conference, positioning my company, Phoenix Security, as a new player in the field. We prepared demonstrations, marketing materials, and a presentation that would take place just 2 days after Marcus's scheduled launch. As the conference date approached, I focused on finalizing every detail while maintaining my composure. The desire for revenge had transformed into something more productive: determination to succeed on my own merits, while letting the truth speak for itself. The night before the conference, as I reviewed my presentation one final time, I received an unexpected text message from Jessica. "Heard you will be at the conference. Impressive comeback. Maybe we should talk." I read the message several times, feeling nothing but a calm certainty that I had moved beyond her power to hurt me. I deleted the message without responding and went to bed ready to face whatever the next days would bring. The tech conference buzzed with energy as industry leaders, developers, investors, and media gathered to explore the latest innovations. I spotted Marcus from a distance on the first day, standing confidently at his booth, surrounded by professionally designed banners proclaiming the revolutionary nature of his security platform, SecureLink. Jessica stood beside him, elegant in a business suit, smiling as she handed out marketing materials to interested attendees. They looked like the perfect power couple, successful and polished. Neither of them noticed me, observing from across the exhibition hall. I attended Marcus's presentation that afternoon, sitting quietly in the back row. He spoke convincingly about the unique features of SecureLink, presenting my ideas as if they had sprung fully formed from his own mind. The audience seemed impressed, particularly when he demonstrated the user interface I had designed over countless late nights. "We anticipate SecureLink will become the industry standard within 12 months, he concluded confidently. "Our team has developed a truly unique approach to data security that will transform how businesses protect their information." During the Q&A session, several technical questions were raised about the platform's security architecture. Marcus fumbled through responses, clearly lacking the deep understanding of the code that comes only from having written it. Still, most attendees did not notice these subtle signs of his fraud. The following day, reports began circulating about security vulnerabilities discovered in SecureLink within hours of its demo release. A respected security researcher had identified 3 critical flaws that could potentially expose user data. Marcus's team issued a statement promising patches within days, but the damage to their credibility had begun. On day 3 of the conference came my turn to present. The room was packed, partly due to interest generated by the buzz around my mysterious new company that claimed to offer superior security solutions. I stepped onto the stage, feeling remarkably calm. "Good afternoon. I am Harold Sullivan, founder of Phoenix Security," I began. "Today I will demonstrate how security can be both impenetrable and user-friendly when designed correctly from the ground up." My presentation was technical but accessible, highlighting the features that set our platform apart. I explained each security layer in detail, demonstrating my intimate knowledge of the code and architecture. When I opened the floor for questions, I answered each one thoroughly, showcasing the depth of understanding that comes only from authentic creation. As I concluded, I noticed several people who had attended Marcus's presentation now whispering to each other, making comparisons. Among them were 2 men I recognized as representatives from the venture capital firm that had funded SecureLink. After my presentation, my booth was swarmed with interested parties, including reporters from tech publications. One particularly astute journalist asked about the similarities between Phoenix Security and SecureLink. "It is interesting you mention that," I replied carefully. "Innovation often follows parallel paths. However, I have been developing this technology for over 2 years, as our documentation clearly shows." I directed him to our company website, which included a development timeline with verifiable evidence of my work dating back well before Marcus's involvement. I did not explicitly accuse Marcus of theft, but the implication was clear to anyone paying attention. By that evening, the first article appeared online, questioning the originality of SecureLink and highlighting the security flaws that had been discovered. The piece mentioned Phoenix Security as an eerily similar, but technically superior alternative, developed by a former associate of SecureLink's founder. The next morning, Marcus sought me out, his face flushed with anger. "What the hell are you doing?" he demanded, cornering me near my booth before the exhibition hall opened to attendees. "Launching my company," I replied calmly. "Just like you. You know what I mean. Those articles. The timing of your launch. You are trying to sabotage me." I looked at him steadily. "I am simply presenting my work, Marcus. My original work with documentation to prove it." His expression shifted from anger to something closer to panic. "Look, we can work something out. A partnership, maybe. There is room for both of us in this market." "I do not think so," I said. "Your investors are welcome to contact me if they have questions about the origin of SecureLink's technology. I have all the evidence they might need." As if on cue, Jessica appeared beside him, her expression anxious. "Harold, please. This is getting out of hand. We never meant to hurt you." The sight of her no longer triggered pain or longing. Instead, I felt a profound sense of gratitude that I had discovered their true nature before committing my life to someone so lacking in loyalty and integrity. "Actually, you did mean to hurt me," I corrected her gently. "You just did not expect to face any consequences. Now, if you will excuse me, I have potential clients waiting." I walked away, leaving them standing there, their perfect facade beginning to crumble. By afternoon, Marcus's investors had requested an emergency meeting with him. By evening, rumors circulated that funding was being reconsidered pending an investigation into intellectual property concerns. On the final day of the conference, Phoenix Security was awarded Most Promising Security Solution, a recognition that brought immediate credibility and visibility. Our booth was constantly surrounded by interested clients, investors, and potential partners. Marcus and Jessica were notably absent from the exhibition floor that day. I later learned that his investors had suspended additional funding pending a full investigation and were considering legal action to recover their initial investment. In the weeks following the conference, Phoenix Security secured contracts with 3 major corporations. Our team expanded, moving into proper offices, and the company valuation tripled. Meanwhile, SecureLink struggled with ongoing security issues, and their launch was officially postponed indefinitely as legal questions mounted. 4 months after the conference, at a charity event for technology education, I met Sofia Rodriguez, the founder of a successful educational technology company. Our conversation about ethical technology development led to dinner, which led to a genuine connection based on shared values and mutual respect. When I eventually told Sofia about my history with Jessica and Marcus, she listened compassionately. "Their actions reveal their character, not your worth," she said. "What you built from that betrayal shows incredible strength." 1 year after the proposal that had shattered my world, Phoenix Security was valued at $20 million. Marcus had been sued by his investors and was facing potential criminal charges for fraud. Jessica had moved on to another target, her social media showing her with a wealthy real estate developer. None of it mattered to me anymore. The betrayal that had once felt like the end of my world had become merely the difficult beginning of a far better story. Looking back, I realized that the night Jessica laughed at my proposal was actually the first moment of my freedom. It was painful, humiliating, and devastating, but it forced me to recognize the false foundation I had been building my life upon. In losing what I thought I wanted, I gained the opportunity to create something authentic and lasting. The greatest revenge was not the legal consequences Marcus faced, or the professional humiliation they both endured. It was the fact that their betrayal had ultimately made me stronger, more discerning, and more successful than I would have been had they remained in my life. Have you ever experienced betrayal that eventually led to something better? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. Sometimes the worst moments in our lives become turning points toward our best futures. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear that betrayal does not have to be the end of their story. Thank you for listening, and remember that your worth is never determined by those who fail to value you.